Hello, friends. 815 days of war. Starting from the southern war zone. On Kherson front, by and large, no changes. Russian offensive operations to recapture Krinky bridgehead continues. On Zaporizhia front, Rabotino axis, Russians have advanced on the eastern outskirts, while they moved almost 200 meters ahead on Rabotino-Verbov line. Towards Rimivki salient, Russians have advanced south of Urozane. After a long time, they have again started their offensive operations towards Huliaipole or Huliaipole and have advanced north of Marfopil. Coming to east on Marinka front, in south of Marinka towards Novomikhailovka, the Russians advanced another 100 meters ahead of it, while main battle continues in west and north of Marinka. In western side towards Zorzivka, they made some gains, while major offensive operation continues towards Krasnohorivka, where they advanced almost in the center by moving 100 meters ahead of that, and fight is also continuing in the eastern part of Krasnohorivka, aiming high-rise buildings, and they made some gains. Coming to now on Avdiivka front, on the western part towards Netailov, the Russian army advanced more than 100 meters, and the Ukrainian channels are now saying that this particular village is to be taken as has fallen. They also advanced towards eastern parts of Yasno Brodivka. Umansky direction, almost 300 meters, while offensive operations by the Russian continuing towards Novopekrovsky. Russians have been also advancing afresh towards Novoalexandrovka. They move towards Nevelsky direction, further ahead from there towards Kalino from Arkhangelsk. On Bakhmut front, the basic fight continues on the flanks of Chasiv Yar, though no major gains for the Russians. However, on Krasnoye front, the Russian army is said to have reached a water barrier of Seversky Donetsk River on almost 2.5 kilometer wide front from Krasnoye west direction. That's a good gain. In Kalinina, the Russians entered and captured the mount. North of Soledar, that is Seversk sector, the Russians have again entered below Horivka from the eastern side, otherwise no major changes. In north towards Liman Krimina direction, no changes, positional battle on various fronts. While on Kupian Swato direction, Russians are continuously moving towards Berestov and have entered the first buildings. North of Kharkov, the entire front fight is continuing. Northeast front, Russian army has secured Staritsia, which is southwest of Volchansk, or call it Chuhiv axis. Also, they have fully controlled Tikhe and moved towards east of it towards Zaibine. Funny names, yes, especially for the Indians. In the western part of north of Kharkov, fight continues towards Lipsy outskirts, and that is the major changes as far as northern Kharkov is concerned. While being in Peking, the Russian president said that the attack on Kharkov district or oblast was not to capture it, but to desist and force the Ukrainians further away from the Russian territory, because they have been attacking again and again within the Russia. I doubt his statement is correct, because if they get a chance, they will continue moving towards entire Kharkov, because that is one of their aims. Interdiction missions continuing as before. Ukrainians are trying their best to hit Crimean airfields and other targets using both UAVs and long-range missiles. While there are huge protests going on though not as large scale as earlier. There has been some reduction in that, but I am talking about Yemen, this thing where millions marched the street against Israeli hegemony and Zionism. Data is floating in social media which said that Ukrainians' major offensive operation in 2023, which lasted almost 7 months, basically in south, that is Orikho sector, and also in the east on Bakhmut sector, it gained close to 430 square kilometer. However, they lost huge amount of men and material. And in comparison, in 2024, Russian army offensive operations, that is almost 5 months old now, captured almost 730 square kilometer, 1.5 times more than that what Ukrainians did. And in comparison, their losses have been much less. Well, this is a war, and forward and backward movement is natural. Russians still haven't regained rather, the lost territory which they retreated in both in north, that is Kharkov, and in south, that is in Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. We'll have to wait as the war continues, and there are least chances of peace treaty, though both Russians, and now there are talks by many pro-Ukrainian countries in which by and large the BRICS countries have boycotted or refused to join them. Thank you, friends. See you tomorrow.